Welcome to the podcast Beyond the Ballot, a Lone Wolf production. This is where we showcase local politics by providing a platform for candidates and elected officials. Today's episode is sponsored by Chairman Fannin of the Carmel Republican Committee. Want to make a real difference in Carmel and Mahopac? Join the movement shaping your hometown's future. Follow the Carmel GOP on Facebook to stay informed, get involved, and help strengthen the Republican voice right here at home. I'm proud to introduce today's guest, Robert Schanil Jr. He's running for Town Board Councilman. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I really want to thank you and your organization for doing what you do. This is one great way to get the word out, and for me to meet the public. It's tough. We all have very busy schedules, and it's hard to get out and meet everybody. I've been doing the best I could. I had a meet and greet, but this, I think, is an outstanding way for me to introduce myself to the public and to let them know who I am, both personally and professionally, and what I have intended to do as coming back as your town councilman. I also want to thank Eddie for his service. I know he's an Army veteran, and I appreciate all those that served our country, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So let's start by discussing your personal background. You're a resident of the hamlet of Carmel. How long have you been there, and what do you think makes this area so special?
Okay, so I've been a member or resident of the town of Carmel since 1998. I'm sorry. I grew up in Lake Carmel. We were brought here with my family. My great-grandfather had a summer home up in Lake Carmel, just up from, it used to be the Villa Carmel. Now it was limited. Now it's another restaurant, but just up the street there. And my grandmother and my great-grandparents and my mother, she spent all their summers in Lake Carmel. Such a special place, such a special area. The town of Carmel, Kent, Putnam County is very dear to my heart. So I've lived here. We had moved up. My wife, like yourself, was from New Jersey.
Yeah, shout out to Jersey.
It was
Monmouth County.
New Jersey, yeah. Monmouth, she was from Saddlebrook, but a little bit of a culture shock coming up here. I used to go out and pick her up when we were kids. I took her to high school prom, as a matter of fact. And we'd drive up and we'd get off in Croton Falls and we'd drive up to beautiful down Stoneleigh Avenue by the reservoirs and past the hospital. And she's like, wow, you live so far from the hospital. What happens if you have to have a child? I'm like, well, they send a nurse to your house and they'll warm the blankets up and they'll prepare and you'll give birth at the house. What, really? Are you kidding me? So lo and behold, she would marry this guy and she'd have 4 kids at the Putnam Hospital.
And you went to prom together.
And we went to prom. I took her to her high school prom in Saddlebrook. Followed up by a trip to the Jersey Shore.
So what about your professional background? What do you do, and how does your role in your professional position relate to town councilman?
All right, so I've worked long and hard for many years. I was a police officer for 20 years. I started my profession in the city of Mount Vernon. We had gotten married. I had a transfer from Harrison, city of Mount Vernon to Harrison. At the same time, I had just gotten married. We had just bought a house. My wife was expecting her first child. I was working on a master's degree in public administration through Marist College, through an off-site program at Camp Smith with military and law enforcement personnel. We moved in, and I had to give up the master's program because at the time we were working on brother word processors. It was before the big explosion of home computers, excuse me. So it was tough because I'd have to go from Carmel up to Marist College in Poughkeepsie, and it was a long hike, and it was a lot between, getting a house that was pretty much a fixer-upper and preparing for a baby and so on and so forth. So it was tough, and I really missed the opportunity to be able to go to a local library and get the resources that I need. The libraries now are just outstanding. Mahopac Library, they built a beautiful facility. We got Reed Library. Those 2 libraries in our community are so essential to the needs of a lot of people. A lot of seniors like to go there. There's a lot of programs that they produce.
Especially for the younger kids. They have a lot of programs. Yeah.
Tutoring. My sister was a high school math teacher for many years here in Carmel, and she tutors at the high school kids afterwards. It's just such a great place, and for people to just get knowledge and be able to expand their capabilities. I was always in favor of the libraries. I know they always ask for money, and it's dear to my heart also. I'm always willing to spend a little bit more money in that area. I think it's important. So
what do you do currently?
So currently I'm a assistant director of security at a luxury hotel in Midtown Manhattan. I started that I'm there 3 years. I worked at 2 different locations. One was a very large hotel. This one is large also, but it's more high end and it's more
inclusive. Or?
Not inclusive, but they're more like apartment style rooms. Anyway, so I'm the assistant director there. In my capacity, it's a union shop. It's a union building, so I deal a lot with the unions. So that has a lot to do with being a town councilman. You have to deal with unions. My background goes back with the police department. I was a union representative for many years for the Harrison PBA, and then as a councilman, you're on the other side of the fence with the unions, and you have to negotiate contracts. You have to, there's different guidelines you have to abide by. We have contracts that you have to see. So that gives me a lot of experience in just dealing with unions, dealing with different people, and the diversity that I've been involved with, especially the last few years that I've been in Manhattan with the hotels. There are people from all over the world that you deal with. Different languages, different cultures. And I love people, and I think that's what brings me into the position of a councilman. I'm just a people person. I've always been that way. I appreciate people, and I appreciate who they are and what they have to offer. One of my first things when I meet people at the hotel, I like to cook. You'll find out later about that. Is I ask them what's their favorite dish or their national dish, and then I go home and try and make it, and I'll bring some in. I'll say, hey, I try to make your national dish. How does it taste?
That's definitely an icebreaker, right? Everyone just loves food.
Everyone, it's like music and food go hand in hand. It's the universal language. So it's great. Even my Muslim friends, we've helped break fast with them during Ramadan. Yeah. I just appreciate people. That's what brings me to the table with this.
That's great. So in your life, has there been any role model or mentor that is guided you or shaped you in your life?
Yeah, I have a couple, many role models, many mentors. Like I said, I'm a people person. I take a lot from people who have a lot to offer, and everyone has something to offer. I'd have to say my biggest mentor was my mother. There's nobody like Mom. She was a diehard Republican, a patriot for the country. Everything she said and did was all first of family, and then second, her community and her country. She was town clerk for 35 years in the town of Kent. A lot of people still know her. They still remember her name. She did a lot. And when she was elected to office, she ran a lot of times on all the platforms, Democratic, Republican. She was fantastic. Her favorite story was she was working late one night, which she did a lot. She stayed after work. She was very poignant about doing her minutes. And she wanted to make sure that anybody that spoke at a meeting was documented and well documented. She bought the microfiche at the time. She got a grant for that to put all her minutes on microfiche, which is now it's
obsolete.
It's like obsolete now. Yeah. But she did that. But she had one evening there was a lady who came knocking out the door after hours. She let her in. She started talking. She was very upset. Apparently, she was a victim of domestic violence, and my mother's heart just went out for her. She gave her some money. She made sure she was set up. Got her to a hotel room. And she never forgot that. She said, that's what it's all about, being a public servant.
Humanitarian.
Yeah. So I took that when I was in the police department. I ran a program too for domestic violence. We changed some stuff around with our town. It's very hard for a battered spouse to go and find help. Sometimes they're in a relationship and they don't even realize that they're being abused because it's become such commonplace until something happens, till someone gets hurt, till a public person or someone on the outside sees it and they're hey, this isn't normal, this shouldn't be. So what we did was we gave an outlet for domestic abused spouses that they could come to town hall and they could meet up with somebody. It was outside the police department. So the way they don't have to worry about their spouse following them, seeing that they're going into the police department, and then that spirals into something else. But we did a lot of work with that, did a lot of training with the county, and I'm proud of that. That meant a lot to me.
That's amazing. Thank you. Just for fun, is there anything that people might not know about you?
Just for fun, a couple of things. I like to sing karaoke, and that was my way. I always feared public speaking. Being a police officer for 20 years on a count board for 4 years, and my relationship with the whole hotel industry, it's nothing but speaking. So I figured if you can get out and sing a couple notes in front of people that you don't know, and you can handle that. You could handle anything.
Right.
And
it
then
can't be anything more nerve-wracking than that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Nothing more nerve-wracking. And then my other passion is cooking. I love to cook. So I have a little nickname. I have a page on Facebook. It's called the Cooking Channel, like the cooking channel. So it's the Cooking Channel, best network in town.
So this is not your first rodeo. You were a councilman before for Carmel.
Correct.
What initially inspired you to pursue town councilman? And more importantly, why are you throwing your hat back in the ring for this time around?
So I was always on the Republican committee. Like I said, my family's been involved in politics here in Putnam County and Kent, Carmel for a long time. Like I said, my mom was on the town board for 35 years. My aunt was also deputy county clerk, and she also served as the town of Kent tax assessor and a councilwoman. So my background goes a long ways, and it was always part of the family.
Generational.
And politics were always a part on a weekend. There was always something different to go to, whether it was the Kent Republican Club picnics. You know, my parents would do they'd cook all the corn. We'd have great times. The kids would all get together, you know, and it was just great. It just was just something that, you know, I love doing. I love people. I love trying to be a people pleaser. You know, there's a lot, you know, said for someone that really puts their heart and you know, mind into, you know, other people's lives to make it, you know, a better life. But having all the 4 kids in the community, I've been involved in a lot of different activities, between coaching football to being a leader for the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts, just helping out with you know, cleanups, planting trees when we did Airport Park. I actually was in the midst of selling my mother's house. They had gotten sick, and we were renovating and cleaning it up. And we had an enormous amount of Rose of Sharon trees, bushes. So I dug up about 120 Rose of Sharon trees, and me and Jim Gilchrist, who was the recreation director, we went up and they wanted it sort of like a border when you first come into the park. So we planted with the Girl Scouts at the time. We planted all those trees, and then other trees that they had from the state.
Wow.
So that was
nice.
That was good. So
Resourceful.
Resourceful, exactly.
Yeah. So you were a councilman before. What years did you serve?
So I served 2019 to 2022.
Okay. And so you did one term. And how many? Is there a term limit?
No, there's no term limits. They spoke about that was spoken about. Some of the candidates, some of the people that wanted term limits. I did one term, and my term started in 2019. And unfortunately, 2019 we had a lot of problems going into 2019. As everybody knows, COVID was the biggest one. That was a challenge for the town. That was a challenge for everyone. You know, we've all lost loved ones. I had friends that had passed. I had friends that had serious health problems due to COVID. It was scary for everyone. Nobody knew what was going to happen, where it was going to go. So, but I think we did the best to navigate the town, you know, through the COVID. I did an excellent job, and the byproduct was just trying to get projects done. I mean, there's a lot going on here in town. And to try and get a project done after COVID, when it's always the thought, oh, there's no materials, there's no this, there's no that, there's people don't want to come back to work. It was tough, but
a lot of limitations,
and limited resources. But we did the best we could to get that through. And there was a lot of projects that were started and they're not finished, and I'd like to get back in. There were some projects that I was involved in. I was writing grants. For the town of Harrison, I wrote almost $800,000 in grants, which we wrote ourselves. We didn't have a grant writer at the time.
Wow.
I was the grant writer for the police department, and I would coordinate with the town controller, and we would get some stuff done. But you know, me coming into this position started when I was at my 50th birthday. I go back to the question. So I turned 50, and my wife threw me a surprise 50th birthday party at the Fiddler's Green here in Carmel. And I didn't know about it. And she just sent some stuff out on Facebook. You know, she just messaged all her friends, you want to come? So when I got in there, I thought it was St. Patrick's Day. You couldn't walk into the place. It was jam-packed. And we had our good friends, the Soulmates. If you haven't seen them, get out there and see them. They're a great band. They play a lot of different places. And they happened to be playing that night. So it was like the perfect storm. So they were playing, and I had a birthday party. My friends, family, everyone was there. And I actually got to sing up on stage with them a little bit. So it was good. But at that point, few people came over to me and said, there's 2 council people who are coming off the board. And I'm like, really? He's like, you know what? You have a really big following here. You're very well known in the community, and you have your mindset is right. You have the right. You have your right qualities, to get on the town board. I think you'd be excellent. So I said, you know what? Sounds like a good idea. So that was the point where I decided, you know what? Let me run for town board.
That was the incarnation.
That was the incarnation, and I was on, like, back to, my history with the Republicans. When I moved into the house in on Collier Drive East, where I live, that was 1998, when my third was being born. So we were having our third child, and we were in a 2-bedroom house over in Lake Carmel. And I'm like, we have one of 2 choices. We could raise the roof, or we could just buy a new house. So we ended up finding a house, and it was more my wife's speculations, because she liked that Jersey look, and Carmel had just it went through its renovation, which we're looking to do in downtown Mahopac. They redid all the street lights. They buried all the wires in the ground, and they really beautified the Carmel Hamlet is picturesque. It's beautiful. So she's like, you know what? I want this house here. This is the house I want, and that's the house we bought. And we decided to stay there. And we decided to, stay there for the long time coming.
Yeah. So what are the responsibilities of a town council member?
So the responsibilities of a town council member is very it's a lot. There's a lot on your shoulders, because there's a lot going on, and there's a lot going on between the zoning board, the planning board. You have to oversee all of that's going on, because at the end of the day, it comes before you, and those things that come before you have to have an idea of what's happening. And the only way you're going to do that is either you go to the meetings, you watch the meetings, and you also you read up on it before you go to the meeting. So there's a lot of reading involved.
A lot of dedication.
And it's not as easy as one might think. And my hat goes off to those who put themselves out there and they do this.
Absolutely.
On the boards, and especially on the volunteer boards. And it's a lot. When we went through the master plan, we had an issue with all the wording and the zoning in it, and the zoning board meticulously went through the whole thing to try and straighten certain things out, and that was unbelievable what they did. And I don't know if they were ever really given a real thank you, but they deserve a huge thank you, and I thank them for doing that. But it's a lot, and there's a lot going on here. We have a lot that the state's requiring us to do. Right now, we have to check all our lead pipes that are coming in from the road to the houses. If there is any lead, the town's going to have to switch them out. PFOA's in the water. They've changed the stipulations on that, and they're ready to make it almost unbearable for a town to have to come up with those regulations that they're giving, and they're not giving us any money to do so. So they're
right. The state mandates.
Right. They've created, in a sense, problems with no solutions. I mean, on their side, the solution is it's going to cost you money. But I think if we get together and we really make our voices heard, I think with our senators and our congressmen, I think we should be able to get some money and try and spear that off. But that's just one of many things that needs to be done. The town's behind, on different projects that they started, that they paid consultants hundreds of thousands of dollars to give us ideas what to do. And in a lot of those projects, the shovel hasn't hit the ground. So if I should get back on the board, what I'm looking to do is I'm trying to get back into those projects. I want to open them up, and I don't want to open them up at the same time. I want to do I want to do one at a time. I sort of call it the ground fruit, the low-hanging fruit. Grab the stuff that you can grab and finish it off. I think a councilman should be given a project to oversee. It should be their baby, so to speak, and that they should come back to the board either weekly or bi-weekly and give them an update at how we're going. I know we have a great community here, and we have so many people that love the community and they love to volunteer. I think it would be great to, we have our little committees. We could have volunteer committees to help with these different projects.
That's a great idea. To engage people.
Engage people, because that's what makes a tight-knit community. It's engagement, and it's working together and collaboratively towards finding solutions to different problems that we face. And I think that's instrumental. And it's a lot, like our recreation's great. A lot of our council people now are doing fantastic things outside. They're having a Relay for Life today. That's good. That's another big, event that the community comes together for and for a common purpose. And it's close to my heart. My father had passed away from cancer He had a very aggressive stage 4 lung cancer, and he, unfortunately, he fought that for 18 months. But it's to remember those who succumb to the battle of cancer, and it's really for those to motivate, to create the hope, to show them that there's perseverance, that there's solutions out there, that they're going to be all right. And like I said, one of my other heroes was my wife. My wife, 1 year after my father had passed away from cancer, she was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, and she fought an enormous fight, having 4 small children, doing what she did, being involved in so many different things, and her having to go through the chemo. And she was just a fighter. She was a bolt through the whole thing. She didn't stop. She didn't lose hope. Hope was always there, and God was always there for her. We always go to church, and she'd be out every day walking her 3, 4, 5 miles, and just keep it in her head that, yep, I'm gonna march right through this. And she did, and I love her for that.
It's amazing,
She was also
to have
a
that
coach.
type of spirit, to keep trying to
Keep
just
going.
move forward, the perseverance.
And she coached so many other people, because they knew when she was getting her treatment, other people come into the fact. I mean, I remember our first Relay for Life that we went through, and meeting other people that were there that went through this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and you're like, wow. And that's the big wow, because when you get diagnosed with that and you have young children and you don't know, and it was the only experience I had with that was with my dad, but you don't think that someone that's 42 years old is going to get, diagnosed with cancer. So that was tough, but it was very, very good what they do with the Relay for Life, and just putting people together that have common problems and show them that, look, this is the hope. This is what gets us through at the end of the day. So, and I thank them for doing what they do. They do an amazing job.
You mentioned about grant writing. In your previous term, what were some of your accomplishments? Okay,
so one of the accomplishments was we got a grant for electric charging stations. It was a little bit, when the first cars started coming out and they were starting to, look for different charging areas and whatnot. Some grants fit the community, some don't. But I try and I'm very focused on the environment. A lot of people say, oh, there's the greenhouse effect and global warming and this, that, and the other thing. At the end of the day, it's common sense. You got to bring common sense to the table. And yes, can we do things to improve our community and our environment? 100%. So why not take those steps? If they're going to help, if another agency is going to help you out, why not take those steps? So we did put a couple charging stations in. They ended up costing a little bit more than we originally thought. And I think the reason for that was, it was, like I said, the back end of COVID, a lot of, we can't get this, we can't do that, supplies, whatnot. But at the end, we did get it in, and I think it was good. It was good for 2 reasons. It was good, one, for the environment, for the people who have electric cars, and it was also good to sort of like break the paradigm. I think that we all live here in paradigms, and the same culture with the town and workers and just everything that we do. We've got to move on. If there's projects that are on the table that aren't getting done, you have to start with something. So this was something that we could start with, to say, look, we can start a project, we can finish the project. There was another project was up at there was a gas station on Fowler Avenue. They started renovating it about probably now 16 years ago. They didn't have the right permits. They had dug the grounds up. They had taken soil out that was supposedly contaminated. They had big piles of it. They covered it with tarps. Well, it sat there for 14 years. And for 14 years, a couple hundred yards across the street from Lake Lenina, this stuff was running off into who knows where. So when I got on the board, I said, enough's enough with this. Let's get this cleaned up. So I started beating on the door, DEC, trying to get it going. And finally, we made a little headway. And it was funny that I had run into a family up in Sullivan County. My wife and I, we just happened to be going up to my uncle's. And we stopped in at this restaurant, and we noticed a fellow with a Mountaineers hat on. I said, wow, I have 3 kids that went to West Virginia University. So we started chatting. He happened to be one of the head people for DEC, and he oversaw all the project, because he was telling us.
Wow, what are the chances of that?
Right. And he was working on the big project that we have now affected one of the reservoirs with a tunnel they're putting in. It was a multi-billion-dollar project. So I was like, wow, that's pretty big. I said, you wouldn't happen to know anything about Fowler Avenue in Carmel, New York? He goes, of course. He goes, that's my project. He goes, and I just changed one of my supervisors because he wasn't really getting much done. But there's a councilman that keeps bothering us about it. Well, that was me. So we ended up, we hit it off pretty good, and we got it cleaned up to the point where now they put a temporary fence around it. But that fences become kind of permanent. So I'd like to see something happen with that. If the town can take it over, put a parking lot either for the kids for the high school or the downtown business area of Carmel, or just make a nice passive park there.
So you've mentioned some of your focuses that you would have if you were to be elected. Are there any other focuses that you would have if you were elected that you would be seeing as being critical in order to be successful?
I think critical. I think really we have to focus on the infrastructure. There's a lot to be said for that. I think we're missing a boat on a lot of different, and it's nothing that's new to anyone. We don't have the proper sewer to develop anything on Route 6. I know the Villa Barone has for a long time wanting to put up a hotel across the street, which would make sense. There's a venue for so many great things and weddings, and they do a fantastic job. I think it would make it easier for people who come out of town to be able to stay over, enjoy themselves, and we have to get the sewer line down. I know we're challenged with that because our current facility can only clean so much sewage per day. There is a little bit of wiggle room that I think we can probably maybe expand it a little bit, put it more to its fullest potential. There was talk about us. I was on the committee to try and get that from New York City, and they were going to pay us to take it over. I'd like to revisit that and really start pushing that. That we've got to do something. It's kind of hard when you drive around Route 6. It's been the same way for so many years, and to look at storage facilities. I'm like, our town deserves a lot more than that. I think we have a beautiful town, a beautiful community, and there would be nothing better than to see that built up, cleaned up, and some more
revitalized.
Yeah. That's what we need to do, and we need to revitalize the downtown Mayapack business area. I would like to see it just like the Hamlet of Carmel. I think that Hamlet is a good representation of what the most of the town should look like. I mean, everything's got its own character. We have more of a waterfront business district in Mayapack, which is beautiful. We're kind of cheated for the rest of the residents, so to speak. There's no place really to go. I think Swan Cove would be a great place, to get going. I know it's got a water problem. I think if we mitigate the flooding there and we get the parking lot completed without putting a lot of money in, I can't see. I know we paid a consultant like $450,000 to come and give us ideas of how to do that, and we were going to do it in different stages. I think it's time to get the Swan Cove stage moving along. I think that'll start setting the pace and motivate and people seeing that things are getting done. People need to see that things are getting done. They pay a lot of money in taxes, and they deserve to have nothing but the best that we can give them.
Just an observation. I'm just going to interject a little bit. For someone that has young kids, we don't really have anything that's like indoor play. So like if we want to go to the, oh my goodness, the trampoline park, we have to go to Mount Kisco. We really don't have any like facilities for indoors like nearby. And then, maybe a splash pad or something like that for outside for the kids.
Splash pad would be great. I mean, there's another thought for Swan Cove. If you had a nice park and a small splash pad, I think that'd be kind of neat. But also, if we get the sewer lines and we start developing, we could put up maybe a facility. And I know they have the trampoline. There's one also in Danbury.
Right. It's kind of far. It's at least 25, 30 minutes, just something more local, you know.
And the recreation, I'm a big proponent for recreation. But I think we have to balance it. We have to put more into our recreation. I know Sycamore Park's going to undergo a transformation. There was some problem there with the building that wasn't really caught on the first part of when they did when they got consultants to come in and give us a price. So they're going to have probably add to that. But that's a great place. It's centrally located in town. Maybe something there we could do more like trampolines or something like you're talking about. But that's something I know that the town board has in mind, to expand. We have to have things here to bring young families and have young families stay here. We're not that far from New York City. I mean, I've only been commuting back and forth on a regular basis for the last few years, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's you can do it and you can work there, but also we should enhance what we have here so that people can get more jobs here and they can
make it more appealing.
Make it more appealing.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to take a moment to kindly thank our sponsor for today's episode, Chairman Fannin of the Carmel Republican Committee. Want to make a real difference in Carmel and Mayapack? Join the movement shaping your hometown's future. Follow the Carmel GOP on Facebook to stay informed, get involved, and help strengthen the Republican voice right here at home. Okay, so I do have a question for you, along with my other questions. But as I drive around town, I have not seen many of your signage. What's up with that?
Sign everywhere. A sign. My signs are. I have a few that went up, and I really are hesitant about putting the signs up so far before an election. I think it's just caused too much clutter for the town. This is a primary election. It's not a general election. Not everybody's affected by this. It's just the Republican Party and those that are to come out. I feel that putting so many signs up, almost a month before the election is a little bit much. Everyone knows who's running. We have social media if you want to catch up with people. I don't think it's necessary. So starting this weekend, I'll actually put up some more signs, but I'm not going to so-called litter the community with signs. I think after we did our master plan and the new zoning came up, the sign zoning kind of changed, and now it's suggested that you do it a week before, but it's not necessary. So it is what it is. It's I'm running my election. I'm focused on what I need to do, and that's how I feel. Other people feel differently, but I'm going to. They
have a different approach.
They have a different approach, but I'm going to stick what I think's right, and then I don't need to put my sign all over the place this early. And I'd like to thank the other candidates also that they're using these types of signs. These are solid signs. They're not the bag type signs. So when you get into like national elections, a lot of candidates will get those bag type signs, and they just go over 2 pieces of metal, and those bags fly off, and they're non-biodegradable. When we were doing the Carmel cleanup during in the springtime, you would be amazed how many of those pieces of plastic we dug out of there that were under grass, and leaves, and mess and whatnot, and they're not there for a year. They're there for several years.
That's terrible.
I think, and then you have to police your signs. When you put them up, you got to take them back down.
Right.
So,
yeah, you have to take responsibility for your signs.
So.
You probably have touched on this already, but what are the 2 to 3 biggest issues that you think Mahopac Carmel residents face, and how do you plan on addressing these issues?
Well, like I said earlier, we're being mandated by the state to do a few things. The PFOAs that could run into a lot of money, and that could be something that's going to affect the taxpayers. And also these lead pipes. So we're going to need as much help as we can from different agencies.
Now, do we have lead pipes in the community?
Some houses, yes. Some houses are older. And it's the lead pipe that goes from the sewer. We don't have them. We don't have them in our water lines.
Okay.
We have them from the water line, possibly in your house. So it's from the street to your house. Those are those lines that we're talking about. And then the PFOAs, they kept reducing the amount of PFOAs per 1 millionth in the water. And this has been spoken about a lot. That's another tough mandate that we have to we're going to have to confront, abide by. And the other things are, like I said, just the infrastructure, just getting the infrastructure squared away. Carmel Water District 2 is just finalizing that upgrade with the water district, which I was a part of when we came in $3.5 million on the budget. But now we're talking about the water treatment facility. And this is nothing new, and it's nothing new that the town didn't know about that was going to happen. They could have prepared for this a little better. And I think we have to do lessons learned that, we're going to have bigger projects. There's a lot of failing things that happen. Each meeting, generators break, different parts break. I don't know why we can't have a schedule of equipment that we know and infrastructure areas like the water lines, the treatment facility, knowing that it's got a lifespan. Why can't we plan and put money aside in these different districts? You got to remember, when a district has a problem like this, the town doesn't pay for it. The district pays for it. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking millions of dollars for 3,500 people, that's money out of their pocket. So that's got to be better thought out, better planned out. And like I said, there's
some question, but when you say it's the district that pays for it, so is it the residents that are specifically living in that district?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So if you live in the water district, obviously you might pay a little bit more because of where you are living in that district.
Well, you pay for the water. And
if you live in a fire district, right?
You pay for okay. Right. Your money goes towards the fire district also. That's correct.
Okay. I could, obviously you're not, the board could be a little contentious during meetings or maybe, in an executive meeting. How do you plan on collaborating with other members of the town board who might not see eye to eye with you?
So there's a lot that's going on in the town, and there's a lot that different council members want to bring to the table. And there's changes. Everybody wants to change, and they have different view of what they think is more important. Being part of the negotiation process and collaborating with other board members is the most quintessential function that you'll have on the town board. You really have to maintain your cool. You can't bring in any type of your emotions into a conversation. You keep it on a professional level. Common sense always wins at the end of the day. When I have a disagreement with people, the first thing I do is I stand back and I look at my position. I go, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's me. So I'll go through what I think is right. I'll go through with examples. I'll bring stuff to the table that are facts, factuals. Facts don't lie, and we go from there. And sometimes you got to give. Sometimes you try and take a little, give a little. But at the end of the day, we all have to work together. We're all in it together, and we're not in it for us. I'm not in it for me. I'm in it for you and everybody in the town. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, the community's got to win.
Right, you're serving the town.
You're serving the town. The town doesn't serve you.
Right. So in the past year, the residents of Mahopac and Somers were fighting against the proposal of the lithium battery storage facility. And there was an attempt from the state to override local control. How do you plan on preserving local control and decision-making that serves the best interest of your constituents? Just really quick, I just want to say the writer and activist J.W. Thompson has said that local control is grassroots democracy.
I agree with him 100%. Local control should be within the town, should be within the town board and the supervisor. We've gone through this before. Before we talk about the lithium battery park, there's also cell towers. There's a law here where the state can override also on the decisions of cell towers. And we experienced that. What we do is we try and do the best we can to facilitate if something has to go in, or it's going to be override to go in. We try and do the best that we can do to make sure that it's most appeasing to the community. And usually when the cell tower goes in, it's really going to affect a small amount of people from the community because it's next to it's in their backyard. And nobody wants a cell tower in the backyard. And we experienced one of those up on Walnut Drive when I first came on the board. And it was kind of a wake-up call for me, just to see how the process worked and you talking with the company that's going to build it and they're making money on it. We looked at a map, and we're on the map. It looked like, all right, it was out of the direction of any local residents. Although it was going in there, it was going close to their house, and they have concerns on electromagnetic fields, EMFs, and I agree with them 110%. And we just try and mitigate. It's called mitigating. These are situations that you have to do the best that you can, doing your homework, getting your facts, and just try and mitigate it for the best of everyone. Unfortunately, when we looked on the map, we didn't realize how close it was going to be to one resident's house. And it was absolutely appalling to me when I found out firsthand. And the only way we found out was we actually went up to the site, and I had the supervisor at the time, Ken Schmidt, me and him went up. I goes, Ken, do me a favor, go into the center where this tower is going to be and stand there. And I want to go into the resident's house, and I want to see where it's going to be. So when we went and looked at it, I'm looking right out the dining room table. I'm sitting at the dining room table and looking right out in front and saying, you're going to look at a tower here? I go, this is unacceptable. Yeah. Unfortunately, agreed that they could put the tower, not knowing it was going to be so close. And then we try to mitigate. So can't you give us a little bit of wiggle room and move it, 100 and some odd feet over to the left? And that became a problem. And unfortunately, we did, I think, Article 78, that was been put on pause. But it just caused a big outroar, and people are upset, and and they should be, rightfully so. So fast forward, we have a proposal for a lithium battery facility. Right?
I know, it's a tongue.
That's close to, in proximity to a densely populated
Yes.
area. There's schools, there's shopping centers. I don't know the exact facts of the benefit to the community that battery facility was going to do. I don't think there was any benefit to the community. I think it was more of a hazard. And the fear of the unknown is the worst. And of course, we don't know. All we know is that when those batteries catch on fire, there's all sorts of problems associated with that. And when they give you an area which almost looks like a nuclear fallout area, that here you're going to shelter in place and here you're going to evacuate.
Right.
When you hear evacuate, that sets up a whole nother standards that you have to figure out. Evacuate who? Evacuate where to? How do we evacuate?
Right.
What routes do we take? Do we put people on buses? Do they get in their cars? Is it a traffic jam? Is it absolute chaos and panic? And that's, I think, what happened with this.
And what about the aftermath? Your house being completely contaminated with the fallout, property values, water contamination. We're on a watershed. The list goes on and on and on and on. And it was scary because they did say if you lived within 1 mile radius of this radius of the site, shelter in place. And then from that 1 mile to the 5 mile mark, God knows, how do they know specifically where exactly up to 5 miles? But you were to like you said, to evacuate from your house.
Right.
And, if it happens during the day, you may be, you're a working parent and your child may be in daycare and now you have to get to your child. There's it's very tricky,
Very tricky. And I think we're in a very condensed,
yes, populated
area for that. And you're speaking about evacuating under good circumstances. It's nice and sunny out right now. It's a warm weather. What happens in the middle of a blizzard? It catches on fire. The fire department can't get there. They actually accurately put the fire out.
Well, you can't even. They tell you to let it burn.
So, I mean,
that's the
and where
protocol.
do you go? And it depends on which way the wind's blowing and where's the evacuation zone going to be. That can change. It brings up so many different problems. I know New York State and the Power Authority has a lot of power. This is a result of Indian Point closing down. So we lost a lot of power there and the grid's weakened. But we have a lot of hydropower. Niagara Falls puts off a lot of energy. That could be funneled down here. There's other options than to just stick a battery farm in people's backyards. So,
yeah. So people know their town better than the state knows their town.
Correct.
The specifics.
Correct.
Before we conclude this episode, are there any other campaign talking points or final messages that you would like to discuss?
I think we hit most of the points that I wanted to get across, get my message across, that I'm here for the people. Mm-hmm. I'm here to listen to you. You can reach out to me anytime you want. You can reach out to me I have my palm cards. I have my email address on it. It's robertschanil@hotmail.com if you want to reach out there. My phone number is 914-557-8883 if you have any questions.
That's a first, someone giving their cell phone number.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here for you, the community, whatever I can do. And some things I don't see, some things, people have different ideas and I welcome it.
Right.
And
as long as you're open to it and you want to hear what everyone has to say.
Community involvement is the key to success to molding a great fabric in our community. And the more people that can get involved in your community, the stronger your community is going to be. And when you have a strong community, you have people that really envy who we are and what we do. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for the people here. And also I wanted to thank Nick Fannin for also hosting me today. That was very nice of him and the Republican community. So,
quick public service announcement. What is the date of the primary election? And when is early voting, and where can people go to vote?
It's the 24th will be our primary. The 14th to the 22nd is early voting, and you'll vote and then on primary day you'll vote at your respectful voting location.
Well, that concludes this episode. Thank you again, Robert, for being a guest on the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.
If anyone, a small business owner or individual, would be interested in sponsoring future episodes, please contact us for details. Thank you for watching the podcast Beyond the Ballot. Like, subscribe, and leave us your comments or any questions you might have for future guests. Thank you.
Thank you.